The first Descendant dev team just took a massive W to an L. We have a major reversal on a decision that is definitely going to lead to some fans questioning everything. We have some more module discussion, as well as the entire recipe list on how to combine modules. We have some answers to a few different things that developers have finally been looking for, as well as a whole bunch more. What's up, world? It's Utopia back into another video. Today we're checking out all things the first Descendant. Okay, so let's just jump into what is going on. How did they turn a massive W into an L? What did they reverse and what did they go back on? That is completely kind of staggering. So we've had multiple corrections with the strategic outpost in the fortress zone. As everybody knows by now, there's a big farming zone right now for the Volbe run. Essentially, it's a lot of Cooper shards and a lot of gold for people that are kind of farming for different materials, as well as even just equipment in general. There's a ton that you can get from this. It's a really good farm currently, and it definitely helps the free-to-player out. However, it seems like the developers were actually not okay with this. So they've corrected the original statement multiple times. The first time they made this correction here is saying they're going to update other farming locations to match the efficiency equivalent to the fortress outpost. Everyone was super excited about that because it would make the grind less monotonous and other places would have the same efficiency. However, they've done a complete 180 on this. Now, they claim it was a translation error, which might be the case since it's been corrected multiple times. However, everybody originally was super happy about this, even with the correction, as they said they'll update other farming locations. However, we have a further clarification today, and I don't know why this took nearly 3 days to redirect or re-clarify. However, it seems like the director's comments were actually misinterpreted. However, more than likely, I'm gonna be honest, they probably figured out people were essentially farming way too much gold for their liking. Again, this benefits free-to-players a lot, and they want people to spend money. That's just my go-to there, especially with this, especially them taking 3 days to correct this. However, here is the corrected misinterpreted line. They said, however, at the same time, we will update the fortress strategic outpost to match the efficiency of other farming locations, meaning that they are not buffing other locations, but they are nerfing the strategic outpost. They are actually nerfing it this time to match other locations. So prior, the original directed line was changing to other locations to strategic, meaning that they were going to buff other locations to the fortress outpost. However, now they are going to nerf the strategic outpost to match the efficiency of other farming locations. So just a massive 180 on this issue. The subreddit is kind of blowing up over this as well. It seems really odd that they're going to do this. I know the farm is very efficient, but they're already losing players, and so I don't see why they're doing that. We've seen a pretty drastic decline over on the Steam charts. I know I've had comments down below of like, does this compare to PS5? Does this compare to Xbox? Of course, we don't have the numbers for that. However, they typically do correlate pretty well, and I mean, it's kind of just established even with Google Trends. We're also seeing viewership decline over on YouTube, as well as even Twitch viewership. All these things do correlate. Again, we don't have the numbers for sure, so there is no concrete proof there, but we do have the one, and the one that we have here does show kind of a decline. And it's actually pretty drastic of a decline. Over 50% of the players have already left the game. We're seeing even lower numbers today, and I do think this might be attributed to the recent post, especially since it happened tonight. Typically, we don't see these lows here, and we have seen some of the lowest lows we've seen in at least the last 2 weeks. We're now reaching down to 70k at night. And again, viewership over on YouTube as well as Twitch, and even on my own channel, I've seen kind of decline overall, as well as some of my guide videos have also declined. Now, granted, that could be obviously to a few factors. These do happen with all games, but I do think it being so drastic as of recently does kind of at least point to some things. I am curious on your guys' thoughts, if you're still playing the first Descendant, if you're upset with this decision. I feel like this is not going to hold well, and so if you haven't farmed this already, I would farm this now, especially since the developers are technically okay with you farming it now until the patch, of course, and then it's not going to be as good. I would definitely farm this right now if you're a free-to-play player, as you're going to burn through that gold and Kuiper shards quickly. Although, speaking of the player count, we do still have this statistic here. This is at least somewhat of the case. So this is a US player engagement tracker for the top 10 titles. This was only as of July 13th though, so this is not recent data, and I'd be really curious on what we see in the next coming weeks and days. As I said here, Once Human had a big launch that debuted at number 4 on Steam, and it's also overtaking the first Descendant right now currently. Although TFD is currently in the top sales right here for a lot of these platforms, Xbox Series X as well as PlayStation 5, and it is technically also beating Once Human for sales. But of course, TFD selling in-game items and not cosmetics, there's going to be a lot of disparity there. Still really cool to see some of the comparisons there, as well as the numbers potentially. Although again, this is only as of July 13th, so we'll have to see how those numbers do compare with this week's stuff, especially since the numbers have dropped so much and Once Human has kind of overtaken TFD quite significantly. Again, I don't want to compare too much there, as they are two different games, but it's all we really have to compare to. Also, I know I was going to talk on the module stuff. We do actually have a module type group probability. So Nexon does actually give give you the entire list of all the recipes of what you're going to get for each module. So when you are combining modules, I know people really want that upped from 1,000. Obviously they haven't given any acknowledgement on that, so I would keep combining modules as you can. But if you want the entire list of probabilities as well as what you should be combining, Nexon does display that entirely here. I'll include a link to this full list down below that you can see the percentages and what you'll likely get from each combination. Very cool list. I wish I would have seen this before, so I definitely wanted to put this out to everybody else. Jumping over, we have some community concerns as well as community fixes for certain things and suggestions. This person here is a UE developer, and they've been working with the first Descendant with the game graphics and performance issues. They said they have fixed a lot of the issues with shadows disappearing and shadow pop-in as well as the LOD issues. They're hoping to get in touch with TFD devs, although this is probably a long shot here. But of course, as always, the modding community slash third party, or at least these junior developers, have always been able to figure out things before developers. It's probably because their work schedule and workflow is a little bit more fluid. But yeah, hoping they fix some of the performance issues from you guys. I know a lot of people are experiencing that as of right now. We also have this post blowing up here saying that all party members should get void fragments as long as one person is the proper element. It does kind of suck that you won't receive the rewards if you're not the same element type. Although this does kind of give some disparity of people that have with friends. But so I do understand both ends of the argument there. Unfortunately, it looks like that might still be the case for a little while. I would assume maybe some of these issues will be with August, but we're probably not going to get many fixes for a long time for this. Someone also pointed out here that the answer to outposts have been in front of us the whole time. Currently for the outposts, if you didn't know, there's these little towers that make the infiltration system or infiltration time longer. However, there's no point because you can't infiltrate without Sharon anyways, and her being an invis. So making the infiltration time longer right now has nothing or does nothing for the player. This person says it should instantly reset the outpost and guarantee an amorphous drop with a 100% chance. I think it's a great suggestion here, or at least increase the drop rate. They're all around the map, and if you do all of them, you should get this. I definitely agree there, so this is a great suggestion. Someone also pointed here saying that the fact that the premium battle pass does not include any catalysts or activators is at least pretty bad. I would say that this should actually be on the free version of the battle pass. I think the free version of the battle pass or the free tiers should actually give you one and maybe one in the paid tier, although obviously I would prefer it not being at all on the paid tiers. But I do agree, the fact the campaign only gives you 2 with 14 Descendants and a ton of different weapon types is just kind of bad design, as they do take forever to farm and they kind of push you to pay for those. Again, hopefully they do fix that, as a lot of the mechanics in this game is just not sitting well with the Western audience. Also, another PSA here for the occupation zones. If you didn't know, this little tick at the bottom here, these little 3 dots there in the zone, will actually tell you and signify how many people are in the occupation zone. This person currently has 3 in that zone, and so it will signify to you that there are 3 people there. It's a nice little handy tip. A lot of these games have that, so that is a cool infograph. Also, one last bit of mentionable here. I did forget to mention this. When you are farming, make sure to equip things that have the multiplier for the Kuiper shards as well as gold drops, possibly gun XP and other consumables. Make sure you are equipping those on the dot, as that's going to help your farm a ton and get you a lot more gold and make the time more meaningful. Even if it's a couple % increases, that does make a lot of a difference. Overall, that's about covered for today's video. If you like and subscribe. Until the next one. Deuces.